Okay, welcome back to our third video. I'm Vic.
I'm Libby.
And the first couple hopefully informed you a little bit about how our education budget works. And my question now is that how it's going to work in the future? Is this going to be the way that it always works?
Yeah, so this is the big conversation in the legislature for this year and probably next year as well. There's some challenges. So in part two, Vic, you referenced that the theory of the way we're funded right now is to ensure that every child has an equitable opportunity to educational opportunities in Vermont. That's just not how it is, even with the way our complicated funding formula is. So the difference in per pupil spending across the state is about $8,000, with some districts spending $10,000 per pupil and some districts spending $18,000 per pupil. That's different opportunity. That money equals different opportunities for kids. That's one challenge to our funding formula right now. It simply isn't equitable. And then the second challenge to our funding formula right now is that it's not sustainable. Property taxes are increasing at such a high rate right now that it's really hurting Vermonters, and that needs to be changed. And so the legislature's trying to figure out how to do that.
Even though our goal of the system was to have equality throughout the state, it may not be happening.
Yeah.
It's not happening?
It's not happening. Yep. So the legislature has a really steep hill to climb over the next 2 years, and they're looking into how other states fund their system, because how we fund our system is not how it has to be. Other states do it very differently. And the term that our communities will hear the most probably is this term foundation formula, which is a way that many states fund education. Massachusetts being one of them uses a type of foundation formula. So that's a term that we just want to make sure people are aware of and they know about.
Does that require the inverse system in where a state says, here's our budget, here's what you have available?
Yeah.
Is that what?
You got it. It would flip the way we fund education.
Yeah.
So it would start with what's called a base amount. So the base amount would be set by the state. They would say, this is what we feel is a good amount for each pupil, each weighted pupil in our state to get. So let's just say it's $8,000 per pupil. I have no idea what the state would say in this, and I don't think they know either. But they could say something like, every student in our state, every weighted student is going to get $8,000. And then on top of that, usually in a foundation formula, they still have these weighting factors. So often states will weight students, much like we do now. And then they will also weight the district for different factors. It could be a rural factor, it could be a poverty factor, it could be lots of different factors, but it would be a district weight. And so the state would take the base, the pupil weights, and the district weight, add it all together, and that's what a school district would get, the foundation. And then if districts wanted to spend more, they could, but it would have to be approved by the voters, and they'd probably be double taxed on that extra. So there'd be a penalty, essentially, to that extra spending. So there's benefits to a foundation formula. One of the benefits is that taxes can be predicted in a much more sure way. And there's a control factor at the state level as to how much taxes could increase. It also has a benefit that we'd be setting our budgets much later in the school year. We welcome kids, and then we start working on the budget for next year, which doesn't make a whole lot of sense. So that budgetary process would take place much later in a school year, which would be a benefit. There's some questions, however, around equity still, and how do we ensure kids have equitable opportunities, and who gets to decide that? How is that decided?
Yeah. And so the legislature is working on this because the two factors you said, we're not really getting equitable education throughout, and the tax is unsustainable. Is that what you said?
Yeah.
So meaning we're just beyond our means to pay for our individual taxes?
And the legislature, to their credit, are not just looking at this one piece, because if we were to move to a foundation formula without changing anything else, we'd still need a lot of tax money. So the other things they're looking at are things like district size, school size, classroom size, and governance models in the state of Vermont. So it's not a one-size-fits-all solution. That's too simple for a very complex problem. It's almost like three legs of a stool. If you need to look at governance, delivery models in terms of size of district schools and classrooms, as well as how we're funding. And so that's what makes this a very long and hard conversation.
Yeah. Anything else you want to talk about before we wrap up?
No, I think we got it.
Thanks.
So I would just say stay tuned
Yeah.
for what happens in the legislature.
Hopefully we provided some information, and thanks for watching.
Thank you.